Today, I'm reviewing a particularly luxurious fragrance, specifically Royal Oud from Creed. So, first of all, Creed is a very old and very high-class fragrance brand, which has been around since the 1700s, and it's known for having made many fragrances for royalty. So that's the kind of fragrance we're dealing with here. One interesting thing about this fragrance is that it was inspired by a blend of Persian and Parisian styles. So, you know, kind of the blending of these two worlds. And also, this is unisex. It came out in 2011, relatively modern. And I'm very curious because oud on its own, also known as agar wood, is a very rare and very expensive ingredient, and you don't really come across real oud too often, and when you do, it's very expensive, which this is. But the real stuff is extremely delicious, so... And I could already smell through the nozzle that it's quite strong, so I'll put some on. Yeah, I mean, the oud right away is just a punch in the face. It's just... So, there's several notes here. So, the top notes are pretty simple. Mainly pink pepper, lemon, and Sicilian bergamot. So what you're getting pretty much right away is this very spicy and very citrusy, crisp, juicy sort of opening. But I would say it differs from other fragrances that have similar opening notes. A lot of fragrances will have citrus in the top notes just because it's a nice opening. This is different in the fact that the citrus is more toned down. It's there, but you're really getting that oud right away because it is such a strong note. The pink pepper is also prominent. It's very peppery. It's pepper, you know, it's the real deal. And then the middle notes are cedar, angelica, and galbanum. The cedar, that's another very strong note in here. I mean, if you ever have the chance to be near a real log of cedar, it's a very distinct scent. It's very more pronounced than you would expect, and so far this fragrance is extremely woody. I feel like I've walked into a furniture shop. Everything's finely crafted wood, you know, or in a forest, you know. The base notes are also sandalwood, oud, and then musk. So mainly you're getting three wood notes: the cedar, sandalwood, and the oud. And like I said, the oud is kind of the strongest wood note here. It gives me the impression, so oud is not your typical type of wood, because it comes from a very particular tree in some tropical climate, and from that particular type of tree, oud comes from trees that have mold in them, a very specific type of mold. It kind of blackens the center of the trunk of the tree and produces a more of a musky scent. So this whole fragrance, because of the oud, is not only woody but also very musky, and it kind of reminds me a little bit of like an antique writing desk, you know, solid wood. It's something unique, something luxurious, something sophisticated. This is actually also similar to some more vintage fragrances that I've tried, like, say, Joy from Jean Pateau. And because that was also a very woodsy, not very sweet, kind of a dry, firm, sophisticated fragrance, and that kind of reminds me of this. This, of course, is more musky because of the oud's natural scents. But yeah, there's a certain vintage feel to this scent, because these days a lot of fragrances have some sort of sweetness or, you know, something a little bit different. But this is very unique for the current climate of the fragrance industry, which I quite like. This is it's very, and it's interesting because while it isn't hardly sweet at all, there is just a hint, kind of an aftertaste of sweetness, probably from maybe the little bit of the pink pepper, maybe a little bit of the citrus, but for the most part it is a woody, musky fragrance here, and it's pretty strong. It's very prominent. You know, you wouldn't want to put too much of this on by accident, because it could become too much. Even though it is unisex, I would say, stereotypically at least, it's a little bit more masculine. You know, it is, at least by today's standards, because a lot of female fragrances these days are very sweet and light. But it's a very solid fragrance, very, like, no nonsense, a little bit more formal, you know, definitely not like a casual. You could wear this, you know, during the daytime, of course, but it's not like a casual fragrance. It's more like you mean business. Of course, it's not too surprising since it is very expensive. You know, you want to wear this for occasions that, you know, are significant. And when people smell this, they'll know it's unique, because I haven't smelled anything that smells similar to this. This is kind of in its own category. Because of course there are fragrances that have oud in them, but usually there's plenty of the Middle Eastern oud fragrances. Maybe they're spicy, smoky, incensey. This is more kind of pure oud, pure wood, like kind of foresty and that sort of thing, which I quite like. It's more of a natural sort of fragrance. Here's something interesting. Somehow the top notes are making a reoccurrence, like the bergamot and the lemon in particular. They're somehow more prominent now than they were when I first put it on, which is very unusual. Usually, you know, you get that opening and then it goes away, but you know, it's starting to kind of come out a little bit. So it evolves on the skin, which is always nice. And I mean, this is a very strong scent, so you're gonna get great longevity out of this. Probably a good 7 hours, give or take an hour. And the sillage is moderate to strong, I would say. I only put on one spray, and it's already pretty strong. If you put on, you know, as you're supposed to, it'll be pretty strong. You know, it has good reach, and that's how you know it's a good fragrance. You know, it has good performance, and it does what you want it to do. It's not going to fade as soon as you put it on. So I think it lives up pretty well to its name, Royal Oud. You know, you're going to get something extremely luxurious out of this fragrance. Great for both men and women. And it's just something, you know, for very special occasions, if you want to wear something very unique, very original. And, you know, just to feel good, because this is definitely, once you put this on, you feel good. It's a solid fragrance. But other than that, that's pretty much all I have to say about Creed Royal Oud, an extremely high-end fragrance. If you have any opinions about this fragrance, leave them down in the comment section below. If you liked the video, leave a like, maybe subscribe, and I make videos throughout the week, so stick around for those.